Hi guys, it's me Michelle. So today's video is going to be a little more personal and serious, but I really wanted to make this video on growing up with a hearing loss and finding out I had APD, which is Auditory Processing Disorder, and how I learned to accept it. I really wanted to make this video because there aren't a lot of videos of kids my age who are going through Auditory Processing Disorder and just sharing their experiences, and I just wanted to make this video for anyone who's going through finding out that they have this learning disability and how to navigate through it. And just to know that you're not alone. I was born with a hearing loss right off the bat. My parents didn't realize until later on, so I didn't speak until later on when I was an infant. So I went to speech therapy for 3 years. Eventually, at the age of 5, I found out that I had a hearing loss to high frequency sounds in my right ear. And so I received a hearing aid. I got this big pink hearing aid with a little otter clip. I definitely struggled a little bit in school, but I received a tutor from 2nd grade all the way up to 6th grade, and she was really helpful in terms of making me more confident in schoolwork. In middle school, I actually did very well. I was a really hardworking student. I did receive A's, but it was because I worked so much harder than all the other students to get those grades. For example, let's just say I had a reading assignment on Tuck Everlasting, and it was 30 pages. And I would spend like 2 hours instead of 1 hour, let's just say, on reading the assignment. So it would take me like double the amount to get assignments done. I just started to center my life more so around homework because I always felt like I wasn't fully grasping what I learned in the classroom. I'd have to memorize and repeat everything that I learned from class at home. I did have like one really good friend group, which I'm really thankful I had them at the time, but I felt that I was always centering myself around schoolwork and not focusing on, like my social life and branching out and enjoying, being a kid. To high school, I was still getting good grades, but I still felt like I was struggling. I was working so hard at home in order to get my homework done and get good grades. On the weekends especially, it would take me like all day, like from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I remember coming home when it was a Friday, and I would just be exhausted because I was using so much mental energy to get things done. I found out when I was starting my junior year, so I was 16 at the time, so this was July, that the owner of the tutoring program I was working through, she was telling my mom, like, oh, hey, Michelle might have this thing called Auditory Processing Disorder, APD. My mom told me, and she told me all the struggles people with APD faced. It hit me. I was like, oh my God, like, I have this thing. I always felt like something was wrong with me, and like this was finally like what the problem was. So I remember that night I was like watching videos on YouTube, like finding whatever I could about this, and I was just crying my eyes out. If you don't know what APD is, I would recommend this girl's video. I'll link her video down below. The best way I could explain it is how my mom describes it. So let's just say I'm on a train, you're on the train, and it's really noisy, and you're trying to hear where your next stop is, but of course the conductor who's speaking, it's really muffled, and so you only hear bits and pieces of what he or she has said. Then you miss your stop, or you don't know where you're going. So it's kind of like that, like whenever, and I'll share a bunch of the struggles now that I face. It's just frustrating. Your brain processes things so much slower than other people, so by the time that you finally understand what you just heard, someone's already moved on to another topic. So I get the number one thing that's always been really frustrating for me ever since I was little was keeping up with conversation. Because I always had to be like, wait, what? Like, what did you say? And then sometimes I just can't get what they're saying, so I would just pretend to say yes, and I still feel like I do this. Also, loud noises, as I mentioned, interfere with conversations, and just so I can't do homework or go to sleep with any noise. And also when I noticed when I was younger, like motorcycle sounds and fireworks like really bothered me, so I definitely had like sensory issues growing up too. Also just like jokes and memes, like when people say like jokes or like riddles, I just don't understand, or it takes me like 2 minutes before I get it. Music is hard. Like for example, right now I listen to Migos, which I think is the best rapper group around. I still don't know what they're fully saying. I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is catchy, but like, what is going on? And then reading. I've always not liked reading because I process things slower. So it takes me, especially when there's a vocabulary word or the books obviously just don't say things right off the bat. You have to infer a lot, and I'm trying so hard to read to understand what's going on that I'm not picking up like the minute details and the inferences and all those little things that are hidden within it. Going back to when I found out I had APD and the school year started in September of 2018, I had to receive a neuropsychological test, which consisted of many other little tests in order to confirm that I had APD. The neuropsychologist would say just a string of numbers out loud, and you would have to repeat them and memorize it. The test confirmed that I had APD. It's funny because my strengths are actually verbal skills, which is ironic because my listening is really bad. In terms of my weaknesses, the test said that I don't have a very good working memory, so if I read something or someone says something to me and then they say repeat it right back, I'd be like, I don't know. Like, you gotta repeat it like 7 more times. Once I had that piece, I was able to receive a 504 plan and go through that process through my school, and they thankfully approved it because I took the neuropsychological test. A 504 plan essentially is a plan through the school sets up with you to set up accommodations. So I had already been requesting things like sitting at the front of the room for a while because of my hearing loss, but I would receive more time on tests and essays. For some teachers, they gave me their own notes or students' notes so that I could learn the material ahead of time, or if I didn't get something in class, I could refer back to those notes. And there were some teachers who would not accommodate me, and you know exactly who you are if you're watching this video. But overall, those things were like kind of helpful, but still, when I found out I had APD, I was so ashamed of myself because I was just freaking out. I was like, oh no, like, how am I going to study? And I'm basically gonna have to relearn how to like learn. I think just the guilt of growing up in a predominantly white town and feeling like my worth centered around being the smart Asian girl, and so I was like, if people found out APD, they would think I'm stupid and my reputation would be ruined. I definitely became very anxious and depressed because of that. Junior year, I barely made it through. I definitely received therapy, and I think just with time I was okay, but it wasn't till the pandemic hit again when I didn't fully accept my APD. I still felt ashamed of it. I was just pushing it away. For me, I know COVID for the world was awful, and it still is, but COVID for me was a blessing because I was able to focus on improving myself and accepting my APD. Through therapy, a big part was me realizing that I mainly have social anxiety when I try to hang out with people or have conversations with people. My therapist was really good at exposing myself, so she would tell me like, just snap someone, or like just try to FaceTime someone that you haven't talked to in a while, or when you're on Zoom, have a conversation with them. And she taught me strategies. And even if I was nervous, she said keep on pushing, write down what you were nervous about, but then say what's the worst that's going to happen, which really nothing bad happened. I also learned how to prioritize my time and start new hobbies, so I got really into photography. I read books, like I read Over the Top by Jonathan Van Ness. I read Michelle Obama's book. I actually like enjoyed reading, and I just accepted that, yes, I'm going to be a slow reader, but you can pick books that like you personally enjoy yourself. In terms of prioritizing my time, just saying that, okay, like I'll spend 2 hours, 3 hours on homework today. If I can't get it done, I can't get it done. That's okay. But then go spend time working out or taking a nap if you're really tired, or doing your hobbies. I think the biggest thing I learned through the pandemic for me was that APD doesn't define you. It's just part of who I am. I think now I'm really proud that I have APD because it's allowed me to turn my weakness, which is having difficulty processing information and listening to people and turn it into my strength. I use it as a way to like just be more patient with myself and take time to really understand what people are saying, even if that means asking questions. Now I am a rising sophomore at Dickinson College. Dickinson College is a liberal arts school, and a big part of my APD when I found out in college searching was finding a school that was smaller in size, that really enforced seeking office hours and engaging with your professors on an individual level. Also, they have a really good accommodation plan program, and what I do every semester is that I talk to each of my professors and we go over my accommodation just to make sure that I'm ready for the semester, and we have all the accommodations on the website so that we can both refer back to it. Receive accommodations such as, of course, sitting in front of the classroom, receiving 1.5 times more time on tests and quizzes, and also if I need a note taker for certain classes, I'm able to access that. I actually found that Zoom was weirdly helpful for me because they actually added the subtitle captions, which were really nice. Also, because the videos could be recorded, I could go back if I really needed to hear something. In terms of my advice, because unfortunately there is no cure for APD and each person is different, like one thing may not work for someone else, I would say my biggest advice if you have APD and you're going through this whole process, I would just try to first find people that you can reach out to who will support you. I think just trial and errors for anything that you do in life, whether it be classes that you do, how you study, friends, or eventually when you get an internship or job. Well, I found I worked at a plant nursery for a little bit, but I realized I didn't like it and it wasn't suited for me because it was really fast-paced. Also with the masks, I couldn't hear people's names to type them into the system. And eventually I ended that job and I switched to another job, which was better suited for me. Just accepting that you have APD, I think that's a huge part. Something that helped me get through were 2 Facebook group chats, which I will put their names on the bottom here, and I'll put the names of the Facebook groups which you can join if you have APD down below. It's a really good forum. Parents join it, people with APD join it, and everyone asks questions, and there are always like tons of people who answer back, and it's just nice to know that like you're not alone. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't be afraid to reach out to me. My email is michellehom18@gmail.com and my Instagram is michellehom18. Feel free to DM me or email me if you have any concerns or you're going through something and you just need someone to talk to. I'm always here for you. Also, I'll start a public thread in this discussion session because my public comments are disabled on my YouTube video. That is it for this video. Next week there'll be a special guest, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to start posting videos every Wednesday just to change things up. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys. Bye!